Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here again to plunge into some really fascinating material you've shared, looking for those crucial insights.
Absolutely.
And today we are tackling something pretty complex, something often whispered about, this whole idea of targeted individuals,
Right.
and specifically the pretty audacious claims about why such programs might even exist.
It's definitely a topic that raises eyebrows, sparks curiosity, and, let's be honest, a lot of skepticism too.
For sure.
So our mission today in this deep dive is really to explore one particular source. It offers a very specific, very detailed, and frankly quite provocative answer to that why.
The why behind alleged targeting.
Exactly. We're here to unpack the claims it makes, just lay them out as presented in the material itself.
Yeah, and that's key. We're not here today to say if these programs are real or not real. That's not the goal.
No.
It's about objectively presenting what this specific source is telling us. It makes some really strong assertions.
Yeah.
And it gives us a particular lens, a specific viewpoint on these alleged targeting efforts. We want to give you the full picture from its perspective.
And what's really interesting is how it starts. The source kicks off by highlighting what it claims is the core idea, the central assertion from those supposedly behind these programs,
Okay.
which is that certain people, specific types of people, are seen as a significant threat.
A threat. Okay, so that's the starting point. But who?
Mhm.
Who exactly does the source say are these
Yeah.
threats? And why them?
Well, according to this material, the term used by the alleged military-industrial complex is empowered individuals.
Empowered individuals.
Yeah. And the source actually claims you can find this term in what it calls their own white papers. It specifically points to the RSOFT Operating Concept 2022,
Okay.
which it identifies as coming from the U.S. Army Special Operations Command,
Yeah.
described as, a publicized military defense strategy.
So a real document, but interpreted in a specific way by the source.
Exactly. The source interprets this document as basically outlining methods for influencing populations, and it directly links that to the alleged targeting of these empowered individuals. It frames it as the kind of official justification in their view.
Empowered individuals. It's a strong phrase. What does the source say make someone empowered in this specific context? What's the working definition here?
The source is pretty detailed about it. It says these are people who, one, have influence in their community,
Right. Influence.
and two, crucially, they are resistant. Resistant to things the source calls prediction software, social engineering, and generally resistant to manipulation for their agenda.
So resistant to control mechanisms.
Precisely. It implies this, highly sophisticated, almost invisible layer of control is being attempted, using advanced psychological tactics, all allegedly used to subtly shape how people think and act.
And this agenda, the source gets pretty specific about that too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The source claims this agenda is ultimately aiming to, quote, dumb down the population and plug everyone into a proto-matrix technocratic slave grid.
Wow. Okay. Proto-matrix technocratic slave grid, that's quite a vision.
It is. It's stark language. And the source uses it to paint this picture of a future where, individuality is squashed, control is absolute. And against that backdrop, these empowered individuals obviously become a major problem for the alleged plan.
That really is quite something. So, okay, if these individuals are resistant to all that, it feels like there must be something, I don't know, deeper than just saying no, that makes them such a threat to this alleged agenda. It can't just be non-compliance, can it?
That's exactly right. And the source gives a really interesting explanation here. It goes beyond just simple resistance.
Ah, so.
It argues it's not just about what they say or even what they do. It's about how their ideas, your thought seeds, your demeanor, it spreads. Yeah.
Yeah.
It becomes contagious. It's inherent in their personality, according to the source. And this is where it connects it directly to the concept of the standalone complex, or perhaps more famously known, the 100th monkey theory.
The 100th monkey theory. Okay, I've definitely heard that phrase before, but usually in a totally different context, like New Age circles or something. How does this source explain it? What's the analogy here?
So the source lays out the analogy like this. Picture monkeys, right?
Yeah.
On totally separate islands.
Okay.
One group figures out how to wash sandy figs in the water before eating them. Makes sense.
Sure.
Then, somehow, with no direct contact, no boats, no swimming lessons between islands, monkeys on other, Distant islands spontaneously start doing the exact same thing,
Yeah.
washing their figs,
Without being shown.
without being shown, without
Yeah.
direct communication.
Mhm.
The source actually describes it as some kind of weird symbiotic psychic nature thing. It suggests this spontaneous non-local spread of a behavior. It defies the usual explanations.
That is. Yeah, that's a fascinating analogy. Almost mystical, like you said.
It is. And the source uses it to suggest that influence isn't just top-down. It's not just direct teaching or leading. It's more fundamental, like an energetic resonance almost that can just spread.
Which totally redefines what it means to be influential, if that's the case.
Exactly.
So bringing this back, this wild concept,
Yeah.
how does the 100th monkey idea apply to these empowered individuals in the source's view?
Well, the source claims these individuals are fundamentally non-compatible with the system they're trying to set up.
Non-compatible.
Yes, it's their unique vibe, as the source puts it, a vibe of independence and resistance. And the idea is that this vibe can spread, even subliminally.
So it's not just their actions or words, but their very presence.
That's what the source suggests, an inherent quality, almost like an energetic fingerprint, that just doesn't mesh with the alleged system. It uses another analogy like the 1 in 1,000 of a flock of birds that starts to fly off and then all the rest of them follow.
Okay. That leader bird.
But maybe not even a conscious leader.
Yeah.
Just the one whose inherent nature triggers the change. It's about an influence that doesn't need direct instruction.
Okay. That makes a certain kind of internal logic if you follow the source's premises.
Yeah.
And thinking about today, globalization, the internet connecting everyone instantly,
Right.
that perceived threat, that potential for spread, it must feel massively amplified to those described in the source. Does it talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. That's a key point the source makes. He says, look, influential minorities, people who buck the trend, they've always existed throughout history.
Sure.
But the internet, that changes the game entirely. Suddenly, the community an individual can influence isn't just their village or town, it's potentially global.
The scale is different.
Massively.
Mm.
The source uses this image. It says it's like one ant standing up to them.
Mm.
They all might stand up.
Hmm.
And the source is very clear. The alleged orchestrators absolutely cannot allow that to happen, especially given their supposed grand agenda. It argues that modern tech makes this 100th monkey effect potentially instantaneous and worldwide.
Which explains the alleged urgency and intensity of the response. Okay. So if these individuals are seen as such a threat and their influence is so deeply feared, how? How does the source claim this targeting actually happens? What are the methods described?
Yeah, this is where the claims get, well, extremely serious. The source talks about covert operation.
Subvert, okay.
And it alleges these operations use, and I'm quoting, literally lethal weaponry.
Lethal.
That's the claim. But done, supposedly in a way that's deniable, executed specifically so they don't get sued, to avoid legal blowback.
That's a huge claim.
It is. And it goes further. The source makes these really shocking assertions that the justification, the green light for these actions, including alleged torture programs.
Torture programs.
Yes. And even testing with chemical biological agents, radiologicals. That the justification is somehow found in, quote, international treaty or other official-sounding papers.
Wow. Okay, those are incredibly severe allegations from the source. Just staggering.
They really are. It paints a picture of extreme hidden measures being taken against these specific individuals.
So if we accept the source's premise for a moment, these extreme methods, what's the ultimate purpose? What's the end goal for those supposedly orchestrating this according to the source?
The source claims the whole program is specifically designed to make you cynical towards your community.
Cynical towards your own community.
Yes. And at the same time, to make your community reject you as a crazy.
Ah, the isolation tactic.
Exactly. The stated goal, according to the source, is to cut you off, to prevent your influence, prevent those ripple effects that they're so afraid of from ever taking hold and spreading.
So they can just?
So they can carry on with their agenda, as
yeah.
the source puts it. It's about neutralizing the individual by destroying their social connections and credibility.
That is a really dark twist. Focusing not just on the individual, but on severing their ties, isolating them.
It is.
But then, and this is where the source material took a turn that I found genuinely surprising.
Yeah.
After laying out all these alleged extreme measures, this whole apparatus of control and suppression, what advice does it actually give to the people it identifies as these targeted individuals?
It is really unexpected, isn't it? Because the material flat out claims that the alleged perpetrators, they are not most worried about TIs exposing the targeting program itself.
Not worried about exposure, like protests or media campaigns?
Apparently not most worried about that, no. Or exposing government corruption directly. That's not their biggest fear, according to the source.
Okay, so what is then? If it's not direct opposition, what does the source say is their real fear? The thing they truly, desperately don't want these individuals to do.
Get this. The source claims their number one concern, their true fear, is targeted individuals simply living normal lives.
Living normal lives.
Yeah. Engaging in totally mundane activities, like the source gives examples. Making a YouTube channel about your car collection or how to do house repairs.
Seriously, car repairs.
Or even just talking about regular politics, everyday stuff.
Why? How could that possibly be threatening after everything else described?
Because, as the source argues, your personality and just shining with your own light in a positive way actually has way more influence and reaches way more people. It claims that your underlying, remember that vibe.
The vibe of independence and resistance.
Exactly. That vibe, the source says, carries with any message that you use. It doesn't matter if the message is about fixing a leaky faucet or collecting stamps. That inherent quality, that non-compatible energy, is what they truly fear spreading. The medium isn't the main threat. The person is.
So it circles back to that 100th monkey idea,
Yeah.
the contagious nature of just being authentic and independent.
Precisely. The source suggests that authenticity is the real kryptonite here.
So wrapping this specific advice up, what's the core takeaway for someone who identifies with this description in the source? Summarize that core advice.
The core advice, pretty explicitly stated, is to carry on as if you've never been targeted.
Just ignore it.
Not ignore it, perhaps, but act despite it. To use the internet to the fullest and just enjoy life and enjoy fighting the enemy with a smile.
Fight with a smile.
Yeah. The source really emphasizes this point. Do this positive, life-affirming stuff precisely because this is what the alleged perpetrators really don't want. It frames living well, authentically and connectedly, not as surrender, but as the most effective form of resistance. Not just fighting the system head-on, but thriving despite it.
Wow. Okay. So we've really taken a deep dive into this one source's very specific perspective.
Right.
It lays out this narrative where certain people, these empowered individuals, are allegedly targeted.
Right.
And not necessarily for blowing the whistle on specific secrets, but for their inherent quality, their capacity to spread independence, resistance, just through their way of being.
Yeah, kind of personality contagion.
A contagion that's seen in this narrative as a fundamental threat to some larger hidden agenda.
It's definitely a compelling, if provocative, narrative the source weaves. It focuses heavily on that subtle, almost psychic spread of this vibe of independence.
And flips the script by framing everyday life lived authentically as the most potent form of counter-influence.
Exactly. That's the core of its surprising advice.
Indeed. Which leaves us, and you, with a final thought to consider. If, as this particular source suggests, the most powerful form of resistance is simply to shine your own light and live authentically, what does that imply about the real nature of influence itself? And maybe about our own individual power, especially in a world seemingly grappling with so much information control?
Definitely something to mull over.
Something to mull over until our next deep dive.